Last spring, 642 million people braved scorching heat to vote in India's election. In the beginning of 2024, we predicted that global elections would be the year's biggest story to watch for people, nature, and climate. WRI does this each January, gathering our experts to identify the most impactful trends and decisions for the coming year. Now that 2024 is over, let's look back and see what actually happened. India wasn't the only nation that went to polls. Countries representing more than half the world's population voted for new leaders. It was the biggest election year in modern history. We asked how this election would shape climate action and our shared future. Would a wave of new leaders rise to tackle soaring temperatures and address the escalating climate extremes we already face? What we found was surprising. Despite record-breaking climate disaster, these issues barely made a ripple in election campaigns. Even as catastrophic floods hit Brazil, Kenya, and Europe, as fire ravaged Amazon, and hurricane devastated cities in rural areas in the US. Around the world, climate change was eclipsed by other voter concerns like high cost of living, migration, and global conflicts. It seems we have not yet converted the growing climate crisis to a political imperative, either for the leaders or the voters who elect them. Global elections reveal varying degrees of voter dissatisfaction across diverse nations, resulting in noticeable political changes. In India, the ruling party saw its parliamentary share diminish. In South Africa, the ruling party had to form a new coalition to retain leadership. In the European Union, the parties supporting climate policies lost ground. Though climate change wasn't a central election issue in most places, it is very likely that each of these countries will continue, if not enhance, climate action. There were also some surprises. First, in Mexico, voters elected not only the first woman president, but an internationally recognized climate scientist. We should watch to see if this leads to more ambitious climate action. The UK was an outlier. It was the only country where the winning party campaigned in favor of ambitious climate policy and won, bringing a strong focus on clean energy and cutting emissions. In September, the UK closed its last coal-fired plant. And in November, it announced very ambitious climate goals to cut emissions by 81% by 2035 compared to 1990 levels. But the biggest surprise was the United States. The incumbent party, after implementing the most ambitious climate policy in its history, creating hundreds of thousands of jobs in both Republican and Democratic states, did not campaign on climate at all. Despite these headwinds, leaders from wealthy countries at COP29 in Baku agreed to increase their support for climate action in developing countries to $300 billion per year by 2035, creating a down payment towards a safer future for all. Climate change may not have been the issue directly driving voters to the polls, but people made their voices heard. They want stable income, fair opportunities, a safe future for themselves and their families. What we need now is for leaders to recognize that these hopes are linked to climate and nature. Decisions that leaders and voters make will continue to decide the fate of people, nature, and climate alike. Tune in to Stories to Watch 2025 to find out what's in store for the year ahead.